What up, y'all? Back again. Today we have for you Lexington, Kentucky, and after this we're going to go into Topeka, Kansas. So these are structures, of course, 1800s. Some of them are going to be shown with some old cars in them because they're going to be, the photo will be after that, but the building date is before that. This is Lexington, Kentucky, and it was a really small town. I think it was like 20,000 people. It's not that big today, to be honest with you. And they had some, again, just to show you, like in the middle of nowhere. They also, here's the cholera right there. It was like the 1830s, I think, to the 1849 or something like that. But that was the era where they had to figure out that all of a sudden they needed bathrooms because they were repopulating new centers of the world, and they were opening up corridors for us. We didn't have any bathrooms, but we had these beautiful structures that we can't build today. So, quite a disconnect, wouldn't you say? Because during the crucifixion of Christ, the Romans knew how to clean water, and they had toilets then. So it's kind of archaic. And look at those windows going into the ground. You're going to find on these, there's going to be quite a few windows going into the ground. I know, for instance, Kansas, when you get there, I saw a lot of structures that aren't on here. But they're all over the world, y'all. They're windows going straight into the ground. And somebody will claim to say they're basements. They're not basements. The whole building sunk. You can dig it out. You could dig it out, but what happened was the infrastructure was there was enough people to dig all these buildings out. So they just would build the infrastructure right up to it, and they would try to hide it later. They would build framework around the building, like extra cement, a wall or something. If they had a door down below the earth, they would dig it out and put steep steps in. You'll find that too. Or, where you see these windows going into the ground, they'll put crates up around them sometimes if it's in the middle of the city. Like Colorado has a lot of them. Denver, you'll see a lot of them in the downtown streets. But, look at that architecture inside this regular house that was from that age and that era, the Gilded Age. I mean, this is just stuff that we don't do. I mean, and if this is the thing, it's one thing if you can get a bunch of random people, and this isn't every country of the world, though. This is in every city. And, okay, so you guys say, well, we could build it. Okay, well, maybe you could build it. Okay, so you could build one of them, or one here or one there, but you can't build them all. They're all over the place. We're talking about highly skilled labor that we don't have today. We can't humanly possibly do it on some of these. Like, for instance, the Vatican, St. Peter's Basilicas. You got to be kidding me. You couldn't put one pillar up in there as ornate as that place is. I think a lot of people haven't done construction, but what you'll see is a lot of these old, when you do construction, that kind of stuff, man, you'll know how remedial, we're really remedial compared to what is out there, based on when we look into some of our antiquity. And half this stuff, it all ramped up in like the 1880s because it wasn't our ideas, y'all. This stuff was here. It was here, and it was a reset. It was a reset. You see the windows going in the ground. What they do is they'll put steps going into a second floor window if they didn't have time to dig it out. You'll see even in Rome. I did a segment a week ago or so, and Rome, they were digging Rome out, all of it. Rome was like totally underground. They were digging it all out in like the late 1800s, early 1900s. Why? Because why that late in a time period? They have photos of it. Kansas City. I'm going to do one on Kansas City, but Kansas City, they have photos of them digging it out. There's a lot of photos of them digging these cities out. And they didn't have much of a workforce. That's why they started putting them children to work. Look at that YMCA with a tremendous building. You'll see a post office with a palace for a post office, y'all. These are repurposed buildings. They had tons of buildings, and they needed government buildings. These are the controllers. This is the enemy's kingdom, and he's taken over what was left after the Millennial Kingdom, and he was loosed with his minions. So he had his minions, which are probably the oligarchs that you see today, or even back then with the top hats and stuff. But then the rest of the children, they weren't working. You could tell they had suits on and stuff. They weren't lifting a finger. They were like the lazy ass narcissist. So what you're saying is they put the children to work, and they taught them culture. And I don't know about the Science Islands. There's a bunch of them. There's a few in this one, and they take these buildings that are highly architecturally savvy, and they'll use libraries like this for a library, y'all. So when you got ornate stuff like that, use as libraries. And look at a church, man. Come on. You can get a couple of these done with some random people, maybe. But you can't get them done building after building after building. We can't do it today, y'all, with all the equipment we have. They had a few people, and those people don't look like they have any intelligence. I mean, really, they were just... they weren't really going to school. They didn't really have any standards. They didn't have standards for anything. And we didn't have standards for how high the steps should be. We didn't have standards for anything, y'all, until like the 18 to 1900s. Like, what were we doing before? Tell me, please. And tell me how we have no idea where this stuff came from. I mean, really. Absolutely. We have no idea, because if we had an idea, we'd be building it today. At least some of it. It's only 150 years ago. Look at those windows all in the ground. Look at that. There's pictures all over the earth where they're all mud flooded out. And they're sunk in the mud. They've been dug out, even as far away as Russia. I mean, yeah, so they could build a couple of them. If you got a bunch of geniuses and some real hot chisels, man, you could probably pump out a couple of these. I'll give you that. But not like 100 million of them. I mean, they were all over the place. Germany got carpet bombed. Italy got carpet bombed. Some of that was like, you have to wonder, y'all. Japan. I'm just saying, that was just one war, man. If you go back into the 1800s, late 1800s, every city in the world was burning.